Thank you all for that. Thank you, Scott. He did talk about my legislative district as opposed to just my role as speaker. And we talk in our office a lot of times about representatives have 3 lanes. If you can imagine a 3-lane highway. They've got what's good for them, what's good for their district, and what's good for the state. And those lines and those lanes don't always go in the same direction. And so, yes, it even takes one more lane for me because I'm sitting over there, you know, we're trying to get everybody going in the same direction. And you don't mind being the tip of the spear, but you want to know where we're going and where everybody is. And so sometimes it's tricky making those 3 lanes all merge and go in the right direction, Lex. It gets tricky sometimes for sure. We learned a lot in our first year as speaker. I learned real quick that it is very easy around this place to play defense. When you get to sit in the chair that I get to sit in, you can just sit on your hands, and through legislative deadlines and those kind of things, you can run the clock out and you can kill just about anything you want to. What gets real hard is when you actually want to play offense and move the ball or move somebody's cheese around a little bit, or maybe even think outside the box and do something that's never been done before. And so, you know, we did some of that in our first session, and all I'll say about that is I warned you on the front end that we were going to go in some of those places. I see some of you smiling now. It didn't come without warning, I'll say it that way. I was looking through y'all's priorities for the 2025 session, and one of the things that is on your list of MEC's legislative priorities for the 2025 session is a dedicated stream of funding for infrastructure. A dedicated, reliable stream of funding to finally bring our highway system and our roads and bridges and our infrastructure in this state into the 21st century. And when we look at that and think about that, I want to put this out there to you. No serious conversation about tax reform and the way we fund state government can take place if it does not include that integral piece. And so you're going to hear a lot in the coming weeks out of this building about tax reform and about changing the way we fund state government and the way we run this deal. When we've done it for so long a certain way, it is hard to go in a different direction. But that piece specifically has to be part of the conversation. The legislation that you will see come forward in the House is taking shape. We're almost ready to drop it and run with it. And you're going to hear more from our chairman of House Ways and Means Committee, Trey Lamar, in a minute. And he's probably going to go into some more specifics about our tax reform package. So I don't want to steal his thunder. And many of you I spoke to yesterday in y'all's meeting over at the Westin. So I won't rehash that. And he is much more knowledgeable on the details and the finer points. But I want to remind y'all of a couple of things there. Our package will be an all-encompassing piece of legislation. We won't have a bill that deals with highways and a bill that deals with income tax and a bill that deals with grocery tax or that deals with the way municipalities receive their diversions. All of that stuff will be in one piece of legislation. It will be in one bill. And at the end of the day, when the smoke settles on that bill, it is in excess of $1 billion tax cut. So when somebody comes to you and says, oh, well, they're moving this, or they're changing this, or they're raising my gas tax, or they're doing this, at the end of the day, for a Mississippi taxpayer, it is a package that is in excess of $1 billion tax cut and moves our economy and our state government to a consumption form of government in the way it's funded. And it is the way, if any of you were setting up your businesses or if you were setting up your state, this is the way you would do it. You would never tax people's hard-earned dollars. We tax them enough at the federal level. We don't need to tax them here. When somebody tells you they're worried about, oh, we just don't know if we can make a budget, I'll tell you this. I've been in the room. You don't want politicians with all this extra money laying around because it's real easy to spend other people's money. It's a whole lot harder when you start having to sharpen the pencil and make a real budget. So those things come with some caveats. We understand in the House of Representatives there are core functions of government that must be funded. Nobody here is trying to shut down any form of government or squeeze our cities and counties. Cities will remain whole in any tax diversion as we look at sales tax. As we cut the grocery tax, they will be made whole. I've assured their leaders in meetings specifically with them on that issue. It will also include a key component where Counties for the first time will receive a sales tax diversion that will go directly to MDOT to fund our state aid road system. That is one of the most popular items that MDOT does as it relates to county roads. And so as you see this package develop, that's another key feature that is a local feature. In addition to a little bit of extra money for our municipalities, besides what they're receiving now, counties for the first time will see a form of sales tax. In that sales tax collected in the county, a portion of that will go to fund state aid, about $80–90 million a year, which is almost 100% increase for state aid and brings some of our county roads and systems closer up to par. It's gradual. It's over 10 years. Nobody's ripping the Band-Aid off this year or next year. It is gradual. It is measured. And yes, it's conservative. It is that. We would like, our stated goal is to cut the grocery tax in half. As your Lieutenant Governor told you, we do have the highest in the nation. We can cut that. We can stand that. Now, as I told some of you yesterday, it's a double hit to the state because we're going to keep our cities whole, so we're going to absorb the cut, even the part that the city would take, because most of our cities derive a lot of their retail sales tax comes from the sale of groceries, especially small and medium-sized towns. So they will be kept whole. So when somebody tells you this is going to gut city government's coffers and the way they run their government, they'll have to make, it's not true. They'll actually see a slight increase. Chairman Lamar will probably go into that a little bit more with y'all. But I want to really, y'all to understand, if nothing else, that this package has to be looked at in a singular lens. You can't take any piece of it and say, well, this, that. It's a total package. And the total package considered is $1 billion tax cut in the form of savings to Mississippians. It takes 10 years to get there, but it is worth the effort and it is worth y'all's time. At some point in the very near future, I'm going to ask y'all to support it in your industries and with the sway and the power that you have in your communities and your employees and the reach that you have as MEC, as our state's Chamber of Commerce. You're going to be called upon, like you do on other issues that you see as best for our state. You're going to be called on this. It is time we bring our highway system into the modern infrastructure world that other states are living in, especially our southern states that we compete with specifically, and we stay competitive in the income tax world and move to a consumption-based economy. It is a well thought out plan. I want to applaud Trey Lamar for working so hard on it. He's a lawyer. He's also a tax lawyer. He's got all of those good degrees that tell you he knows what he's talking about. Real quick, a couple other things y'all are going to get tired of reading about and seeing on the news and in your paper or on your iPad as you consume your news, however that is. We're going to spend a bunch of time talking about education in Mississippi. And I know we do that every year, but this year specifically, we're going to move. Last year we spent a lot of time on that new funding formula. We're going to move in a different direction now and talk about the delivery of our education and the way parents access public education in Mississippi, specifically the tax dollars that we put toward it. We gave a historic amount in the form of appropriation to K-12 education last year, over $3 billion. We put our money where our mouth was. Politicians quit talking about fully funding and funding schools, and we actually did it. It was historic. Schools should be funded, and we've done that. And any tax reform we enact won't do anything to undo that. But it's time we talk about how we address failing and insufficient schools in our state. And we have gone too long in ignoring it. And we may not have the perfect solution, but to stick our head in the sand and pretend like it's not an issue won't fix it. I'm just naive enough and new enough to be willing to go there. It'll ruffle some feathers because, again, we're talking about moving things around a little bit and actually giving parents, who, by the way, almost in every case happen to be taxpayers as well, send their money here for us to appropriate and spend. They ought to have a say, not just in the part that goes to roads or that goes to public safety or Medicaid or these other things. They should have a say in how we spend it on their children's education. And that's, as we come forward, we think with common sense solutions that are baby steps, no more. We think they deserve a real analysis and a weighing in specifically from our business community. As we move toward a K-12 system that emphasizes career tech and that whole space, Y'all have a seat at that table, and I welcome you to it, number one, but I encourage you to engage in that and listen with an open mind to what we're talking about doing. And don't hear a few of the red herrings that throw you off by saying we've never done it that way, or that could wreck a good public school. The last thing we want to do is do anything to harm the gains that have been made in our public education over the last few years. And mind you, I'm biased a little bit. I would say in the last 12 years under Republican leadership. We get a bad rap as Republicans that we're bad old guys that don't want to spend the money and don't want to do anything. But we've increased K-12 budgets. We've made some cutting edge reforms that we took a lot of bullets at the time, but they have proven to be very successful from third grade reading gate on down. And we are actually, when some of us go to conferences, representatives and senators in other states, for the first time, people actually go and want to find us and talk to us for a little bit. They want to find Dean Kirby and find out how he passed third grade reading gate. Or they want to talk to the chairman of Ways and Means about how did we cut taxes to get to 4%? Because other states, as y'all know, Arkansas just cut to 3.9, Louisiana just cut to 3.5. So it is a competitive world that we live in, even here in Mississippi. And with all the cool things going on in economic development, whether they're data centers or the other things are going, it is true when people say we have a little momentum and we're just small enough and so few of us that we can bob and weave. And I would submit we're punching above our weight just a little bit. So let's take that momentum, and while we're here, we hadn't borrowed money in 3 years. We won't again this year. That's never happened in my 12 years in this place, and the Lieutenant Governor talked about that being historic probably all the way back. That's probably true. So we've paid down our debt significantly. The bank account is full with over $2 billion. We've got some capital here. Let's not miss this chance to figure out putting us on the best path forward, specifically in our way we fund state government and our highways, the way we deliver education. And the last thing I'll say is we are going to continue to talk about health care and ways to find some sort of health care coverage for low-income workers. I don't know what that looks like in a new Trump administration, but we're going to work hard to get there. We're going to go see his people and figure it out. 40 states have figured it out. We need to figure it out. So you're going to continue to hear us beat that drum and try to find a way moving forward. They may have an innovative idea that works perfect for a small rural state like ours. And so I welcome the opportunities that a Trump administration affords in that space, and maybe an ability for us to think outside the box a little bit in the way that we deliver health care to those people. You're going to hear some more talk, those of you in the healthcare industry, about reforming our CON process, Certificate of Need, the way you deliver services or new services. And again, we don't want to blow up healthcare communities and the way they're delivered. We want to enhance and make it better, specifically in psychiatric and a few other specific areas where we could stand to take the reins off a little bit, as well as streamlining the process by where if you're just simply making a capital investment in facilities you currently have, you shouldn't have to go through that arduous process to spend your own money on your own stuff and expand what you're doing in that way. So we want to make that easier and more business friendly, much the same way permitting in other areas of industries throughout our state. We're going to work hard on those. Stay tuned. There'll always be something at the Capitol that pops up that nobody thought about, and it'll suck all the air out of the room, and I wish I knew that. I would hold it over Dean Kirby's head when we go forward, but I don't know what that is. But I thank y'all for your interest. The last thing I'll say is I'll applaud your efforts in being plugged in your state legislature and your state government and what goes on. As I look around the room, I see faces that pass through my office often to sometimes pat me on the back, but a lot of times to tell me what we're doing wrong. And the last thing I would say is we have an open door policy in the Speaker's office, and coming from a small town lawyer spot, I have pretty thick skin, and I'm open to that criticism, and we appreciate it. We want to do what's right, not what's our way, but what's right for Mississippians and makes our state a better place to work, worship, and raise a family. So with that, thank y'all for what you do for our state. I really appreciate it. Come see us anytime. Thank you.